Hello, my lovelies. All right, today for Witchy Wednesday, we're going to talk all about divination. What is divination? And then I'm going to talk about different forms of divination. Some of these are more popular, maybe more commonly known, and then some of these maybe you have not really heard much about before. All right, so I guess let's just get right into it. All right, so divination, the definition of divination is the practice of seeking knowledge of the future or the unknown. So there you go. That's pretty self-explanatory. All right. So yeah, like I said, some of these you may know about. Some of these are kind of more popular, and then other ones are maybe a little more obscure. Because there are a ton of different forms of divination. And what I'm going over in this video, I'm gonna try to make this short and sweet and to the point also, so it doesn't drag on and on. What I'm gonna say here is just a handful of the types of divination that there actually are. Basically, divination has been around since the beginning of time. Basically, as long as there have been humans, there has been some form of divination. All right, so let's talk about astrology. Astrology is probably one of the most common, if not the most common, well-known form of divination. It is the oldest form or known method for fortune telling. And back in 3000 BC, the Babylonians were the ones that started to really look to the stars and record the stars' movements and everything. And then it wasn't really until the Greeks and the Romans that they kind of started to put the names to the constellations and kind of the stories that go along with each of the constellations and the stars' movements and everything. Ancient civilizations, they would use the stars' movements for everything. They were really in touch with nature and the sky and what was going on around them. And they would use the stars' alignments and the planets' alignments and stuff to figure out when they should go to war, when they should plant crops, when they should basically do all kinds of really major things that would affect their civilizations. They would look to the stars. Now, within astrology, I think pretty much everybody knows what their sun sign is. Your sun sign is, the month that you were born, basically. So Sagittarius, Capricorn, Leo. That's just one small little aspect of astrology, really. And there could be a whole, I don't know a ton about astrology, so I couldn't necessarily make this video, but there really is so much with astrology. Because you'll hear people, oh, you can't really tell my personality just from the month I was born. There's really so much more that goes into each individual's astrological chart, where different planets were when you were born. Where was the sun? Where was the moon? Where was Mercury? Where was Jupiter within your chart? Where in the earth you were born? It's crazy. Each planet has their own meanings and influences and stuff. So there's actually a lot of math and different aspects and stuff that goes into astrology. So don't knock it. You can't just go by your horoscope from a magazine or newspaper. All right. Another really old form of divination is numerology. There's Lupi. Of course, he wants to be held because I'm doing a video. All right. There's numerology, and I'm looking at my notes here. That's why I keep looking down. So Pythagoras, he was basically the founder of mystical numerology. He was also the founder of geometry. He's really known for being a very by the book mathematician, but he really was into the whole mystical aspect of numbers and math. And so I lost my spot on my notes here. All right, so basically Pythagoras came up with the idea that everything is fueled by their numerical relation, that basically everything in the world could be broken down to either the number 1 through 9, and that each number has its own energy and its own influences and lessons and everything. My light just got bright. There's forms of numerology all over, too, with the ancient Roman emperors, Christianity, and the Kabbalah. Numerology, it's all over the place. You can find, aspects of numerology in so many different, religions and civilizations and everything. But yeah, it's basically the breakdown of different, each number has its own, apologies for this light. This is kind of annoying. Anyway, each number has its own energy and influences and lessons to learn. And then there you go. So that's numerology. Tarot, I'm not going to really go much into tarot, only because there's like 1,000 videos on tarot. I have blog posts about tarot. So I'm not going to get too much into tarot. I just wanted to discuss it. But basically, tarot is divination through cards. A set of 78 cards, 56 minor arcana cards, and 22 major arcana cards. And within tarot, there's actually such a large amount of astrology and numerology and symbolism and mysticism and everything. So when you kind of have like a little bit of an understanding of astrology and symbolism and numerology, that really can make reading the tarot a lot easier, and you can get a lot more out of reading tarot when you do have a little bit of a background or understanding, at least of like the basics of numerology and astrology and that sort of thing. There's so much with tarot. That really is its own video. Okay, I may butcher the correct term here. Oneiromancy? Oneiromancy? That's the technical term for dream interpretation. Oneiromancy, I think that's what it is. Okay, so basically, ancient civilizations, they believed that you got divine messages through the dreams, through your dreams. That was basically the direct link between you and the divine. That is how the divine gave messages to us mere mortals, was through our dreams. And that's still a belief today. That's still continued today, that we receive messages from, the other side, from spirit. And this is kind of cool. The Greeks actually combined dream interpreters, oneiromancers would be the correct term, with medical doctors. So basically, like, you would go to, the healer, to the medical doctor, and the medical doctor was also a skilled oneiromancer, and, he, or probably he, would see you and be like, oh, okay, this is what's going on with you. And then they would have it go to sleep and have a dream and receive messages from the gods on how to cure you. They believed that they would, could have dreams of what plants to, herbal medicine to give you. So that's really cool. And then, of course, Freud, he's basically kind of the one known for bringing dream interpretation like into the mainstream, into psychology, into, just making it more popular and into the mainstream. Within dream interpretation, why it really seems to work is because there are these universal archetypes, the mother, the father, the child. These types of things, no matter where you are in the world and what kind of civilization you have grown up in, the father is always the father, no matter, where you are in the world. The mother always has that mother aspect, no matter where you are. So there's those kinds of things that are universal archetypes that show up in dreams a lot of the time. And then there's also like universal symbolism. It seems generally, now, and don't quote me because I'm sure there are probably some tribes or something out in the world where snakes don't mean like deceit and lies, but generally, as a whole, like the symbol of the snake would be like deceit and treachery. So that's kind of cool. But then you also need to mix in your personal symbolism, because maybe to you, snakes don't represent deceit and treachery. Maybe to you, snakes represent love. So you got to take those into aspect. Alrighty, just got a couple more here. I don't know what this is. Alright, we have tasseomancy, which is tea leaf reading. This one is really fun. I am not very good at this one, but basically tea leaf reading is, you make an herbal tea, you drink the tea, and then the herbs that are left at the bottom of the cup, you can look at the cup and see different symbols within it. So this also kind of goes back to like the dream interpretation, because there are symbols that are pretty much well known when you do tea leaf reading, that this symbol means this. But then you can also put in your own intuition and your own, if you see a symbol and it means something to you and you're getting an intuitive hit on it, it could mean something different. So tea leaf reading likely began in ancient China, and then it made its way through Europe. throughout the years. And so there's tea leaf reading. Runes they're gaining more in popularity, I've noticed. It seems like 10 years ago or so, like not a ton of people knew about runes. I mean, obviously people knew about them, but it seems like it's gaining a lot more in popularity. Runes are basically they're stones, or there's little wooden tiles I've seen also with symbols carved in them. So in what is now present day Germany and Scandinavia, 2,000 years ago, they found runes. So 2,000 years ago, at least, runes were being used. They were used a lot by the ancient Nordic tribes with the Norse gods. And each symbol holds like magical powers and meaning. And you can use runes to, work different kinds of magic. You can use different runes to connect to the different Norse gods. And then you can also use it to kind of predict the future, because each symbol, it's kind of a lot of these divination systems have kind of a little, altered a little bit throughout the years. So, like, basically now runes are used more for fortune telling, I think, than they were, 1,000 years ago. 1,000 years ago, they were more for their magical purposes and energy and to connect to the gods. But each symbol basically has its own meanings and its own lessons and such. And then we have two more to cover. So chiromancy, which is also palm reading. That's kind of misleading, palm reading, because in palm reading or chiromancy, you read more than just the palm. I mean, you look at the whole shape of the hand, the shape of the fingers, you look at the different lines, the different mounds on your hand and on the fingers. So you really look at the entire hand for chiromancy. And this is more for figuring out like who you are and figuring out, seeing the lessons that you have learned in life, seeing maybe the lessons that you still are going to be learning. This is a good way to, just connect with you and who you are and your personal, life lessons. And I think that was all I was going to say about that. But yeah, each line has its own meaning. There's the life line, the love line, the fate line, and each finger has its own. And actually, the fingers in the different mounds correlate to different planets. So it's kind of cool if you're seeing a little trend here. It seems a lot of things connect, which is so cool because everything in the universe connects. But, if you know a bit about astrology, you can apply that to palm reading. If you know a bit about palm reading, you can apply that to astrology, to numerology. It's so neat how it all connects. All right, and then finally, the last form of divination, because this is getting kind of long, that I wanted to talk about was, I'm totally going to butcher this term, rhabdomancy, which is a fancy word for dowsing. This has been around for thousands of years. Traditional dowsing is using a divining rod, which is a branch, like a tree branch with, it looks like a Y, basically. And people would hold the divining rod, and the divining rod would move when they were over whatever they were searching for. This was used a lot to find resources. It's actually still used today. A lot of people will use this out in the desert and stuff to find water and stuff. But yeah, so for thousands of years, people would use this to find water in the desert, under the ground, to find different sorts of minerals, resources. It can even be used to find people, missing objects. And it really does work. This one's really cool. Like, even people who don't really believe in divination and all that stuff, they can look up dowsing, and it's pretty neat how it works. I don't know how exactly it works, but it does. So the divining rod, that is still used today. People also use it for nowadays for paranormal investigating, like ghost hunting and stuff. You may sometimes see the rods that you hold in two hands, but traditionally it was holding a branch in the shape of a Y. And now dowsing has also kind of progressed to the use of pendulums. You can use pendulums for dowsing also. You can use pendulums to figure out, yes or no or maybe. You can use pendulums to find things as well. That's pretty cool. So that is it. That's all the forms of divination that I wanted to share with you today. If you have any questions or comments or experiences with any of these forms of divination, I'd love to hear it. Comment below. And yeah, I will talk to you later. Thanks for hanging out on Witchy Wednesday. Bye.